We're here for a story of hope. I teased it to all of you yesterday, so you should be in the know of what I'm talking about today. First, I'm Aimee of AimeeRaupp.com. Hi, and I am so honored to be with you all, and just love getting to come here and talk shop and share hope and inspiration with all of you. And I just signed on to my Instagram to come live, and I saw that Mira Fertility had a post, and it said, "You are not too old and it is not too late." And yes, I love the motto for that. And that really does kind of fit this case. So I've been in the business of helping women get and stay pregnant for almost 2 decades at this point. It's 18 years, actually. I think it's going to be 19. I can't remember now, but 18 years. It's 18 years. It'll be, 18 at the end of this year. And I've written, 4 books over the last decade, 2 of them in the space of fertility. And I just have gotten to see so much transformation, and it's fascinating and phenomenal. And in fact, we sent out an email to my email list about today's live, about 44 years old and getting 2 genetically normal embryos. And a handful of my girls that have actually gone on to have their children, but they're still on my email list, replied and were like, "Oh, are you talking about me? And oh, wait, I was this age. Wait, I thought I was the oldest. Wait, how old is this woman?" And I got to tell them that, like, over the years, and any fertility expert, I guess you could say, or fertility specialist that I am, have a lot of peers in this space. We all have been seeing this trend that women are getting older and healthier. And that, it used to be like 44 was kind of my oldest, 45 maybe. And now I'm at literally 46, 47. I had a 48-year-old make a genetically normal. I have a 48-year-old pregnant right now with embryos she made younger, but still not that young. Like a 45-year-old embryo is in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just what we're seeing is, I think we're learning to hack the system. And that just because you're in your mid-40s or your upper 40s doesn't mean you're out of the game. I do think, big asterisk, it's not every single woman. It's not a guarantee. I'm not recommending waiting that long to start a family if you have the opportunity to do it sooner. But I am seeing these transformations, and so are other professionals. And, even fertility doctors I work with, they're having their oldest clients ever these last years with their own eggs. And, my 48-year-old did use a sperm donor. So sometimes I think about that. I think, okay, well, maybe it was like younger, healthy sperm. But then I think about, okay, well, this woman that we're going to go over today, her husband's in his 40s. And so, but I do think the healthy daddy diet that I talk about in my books and have a lot of information out there for all of you to access, it works for men too. Like, if women can reduce and shift their biological age versus their chronological age, why the hell can't men, right? So hard to feel happy for them and be resentful. Wait, what is that? I want to see that train of thought. It's so freaking difficult. I know. Not months, I mean years. Let me just see. I know how you feel. My BFF just got pregnant of months of trying. I know. Yeah. You are not too old and it is not too late. But it's also like, to just address this, 3 best friends had their babies this week and I'm struggling. I just did a video for the upcoming fertility rally that I think is happening in October, and I'm contributing, and that's what I talked about, basically, of like, how do we stay in our power, how do we stay in our truth, but also, and I think I talked about it in one of my Tuesday thoughts this week too, of like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, you can have all the feelings, like you can say, "Oh, I'm so happy for you, you get to be a mother," and then also, maybe you, depending on the relationship, you say it or you don't say it, but like, I'm also really jealous because this is something I really want and I've been working really hard, and it looked so easy for you, and that's, it's kind of devastating for me. Maybe you don't say that all out loud, but maybe you say it to someone who would feel safe to say it to, if you're in a partnership or another friend, or you write it in your journal. But it's, I think we are told, and it is such a disservice to all of us, that we have to think positive all the time. I think that's bullshit, and I think it's really bad advice. I think we have to feel all of our feelings and also like validate them for ourselves. Yes, I have every right to feel the way I feel. This has been a hard journey for me. This is difficult. And that's part of the reason too why today, like I was like, I'm going to do a story of hope on a woman who's not yet pregnant. Because I think that is nice for some of you. Sometimes it's like, I don't really want to hear all the hope and juicy details right now because I'm in pain. I'm suffering. And this woman we have things ahead of us because she's had miscarriages, right? So we have other things we have to factor in. But it's phenomenal transformation that has happened as she went from, I think, she started to work with us. This paperwork was submitted April 28th, 2021. She coached with my coach, Sarah, who's been my clinic associate for, I think, 13 years at this point. She came on right when my dad was sick before he died, and he will be dead 12 years in November. And so I think it's been 13 or 14 years that Sarah has worked with me. We can literally finish each other. Both my clinic associates, Heather and Sarah, both of who are coaches of mine, can finish each other's sentences. Like we're just like, we've been together for over a decade. It's just, but so she started working with Sarah end of April in 2021. So over a year and change ago, because May, June, July, August, September. So a year and 7 months ago. Am I doing the math right? 5 months ago. She was 42 at the time. She turned 43 soon after. She was turning 43 at the end of July. So she actually just turned 45, 40. No, she just turned 44. Anyway, I'm not doing math right now. It's not working for me. She's had, at this point when she comes to us, she's worked with an acupuncturist. She's done IVF, and she's worked with a naturopath. She has low AMH. She's had 2 unsuccessful IVFs. She started trying for a baby in September of 2019. She had 3 unsuccessful IUIs, 2 unsuccessful IVFs. She also got pregnant naturally 3 times. June 2020, February 2021, and March 2021. She miscarried every time. And I have to go back through the notes of like, do we have tissue samples? I think we might have tissue samples on one of them, but not anymore. She was dealing with constipation, hair loss, sinus issues, dry skin. She had decent sleep. She works 40 hours a week. She consumes 7 to 14 glasses of wine a week. Which is kind of right up on the upper limit of, I've shifted this over the years as I've seen more and more research come out that, especially if we're drinking. So the biggest shift we did there was shifting to organic wine and cutting the alcohol intake back. When she was cycling, or obviously found out she was pregnant, not, but it's just kind of her work life. And I get it. When I was a New Yorker, you'd be out socially 5 nights a week. And if you're a drinker, then that adds up fast, you know. And even if you're only having 1 to 2. So anyway, we adjusted some of those things. Her diet, eggs, leftovers, green smoothie, then takeout for dinner, potatoes, carbs, not a lot of 6 to 8 glasses of water. So worry, anxiety, fear were her biggest complaints. And she said she had some hope. She hasn't been doing much recreational activities or traveling. The miscarriages are, and the fertility struggles have been a real big toll emotionally. Her red flags: hair loss, decreasing vision, sinus congestion, dry skin, other skin problems, cold hands and feet, overweight, indigestion, constipation, mood swings, back pain, irritability. She had a pretty normal cycle. She would get cramps. She had a history of ovarian and uterine cyst, some PMS. And at this point, like I said, she had also had 3 miscarriages, all occurred naturally. So none of her fertility treatments had worked in the past. So after the initial call, Sarah had the follow-up recommendations same ones that I would make. Before IVF or trying to conceive again, we strongly urged endometrial biopsy, hysteroscopy, autoimmune panel, CRP, antiphospholipid antibodies, etc., blood clotting panel, seeing a reproductive immunologist, upload, and we were looking at her genetics. We urged her to start taking liver support juice every day because she was so constipated, and then food diary and supplements, and to try to reduce the wine intake. She was on a lot of supplements. She'd been doing acupuncture. She was now taking Chinese herbs. She was exercising about 3 times a week. So even lately, we've had her increase that because she worked with Sarah, who's my coach. She did 5 sessions with Sarah. She did also do some fertility trauma coaching with Samantha on my team. And she also did my group coaching, which includes the fertility trauma coaching. And so that's how she's kind of come into the mix as an active client of mine as well. And her work is not stressful, but it's a lot. And let's see, her bowel movements were her biggest thing. She goes every 2 to 3 days, small amounts, incomplete, can be looser by the time she goes. When not taking supplements, it's dry and has to strain. She can go up to 9 days without pooping. No bueno. And if it goes that long, she has to do a colonic. She gets regular colonics. And back when, at another time in her life, when she ate a ton of veggies, she was regular. So we added in the liver support soup right away. Her numbers, just so you know, like 2019, FSH was a 7. AMH was 0.38. So then it went up. By December, it was a 0.86. FSH was a 9. And then let's see, her thyroid was in range. Her D was low. She had some thyroid antibodies, and her DHEAS looked healthy. These are all the things that we look at, we request. So the history of all of the miscarriages, and so we also recommended she was seeing a rheumatologist she had patchy hair loss. So like I'm automatically thinking autoimmune, immune system inflammation, something's going on, especially with those losses. You guys all know if you've had back-to-back miscarriages without a live birth in between, I automatically go to this being an autoimmune case. There's some kind of inflammatory or autoimmune condition that is going on, and that was probably also really impacting egg quality. So let's see, she, like I said, she's had 3 miscarriages of getting pregnant naturally at home. Her beta rose well up until the 4th beta, and then started going down. So these are early losses. Natural miscarriage at home, the second one. And then the first one was the longest pregnancy, I think. And I don't have all the data in front of me. She had a DNC for that. And we don't have any tissue samples. So none of these do we know. But the doctors immediately, when she goes to IVF or IUI, tell her, well, you're 42. It's egg quality, right? Which is bad advice. When you see multiple losses, you can't just think egg quality. You just can't. You have to think that there's something else going on. The body doesn't keep selecting eggs that are all bad. It doesn't implant if it's bad most of the time. And 1 or 2 losses here or there. But when we see these consecutive losses, our red flags immediately go up. There's some kind of immunological thing going on here. So her first IVF, she got 7 eggs, 3 fertilized. She transferred 2 on day 3. None made it to testing. And where's IVF? 2 was unsuccessful. They got 2 eggs, 1 fertilized, 1 transferred on day 3. And so what's interesting is with how fertile she is, 3 pregnancies, she doesn't get pregnant with the IVFs. I think that's very interesting. For me as a clinician, that's another thing I think about of like, why is that? Why is she fertile in a natural conception and then this is happening and she's not? Is it the meds? Is it the stress of the environment, like the situation? Were they not healthy embryos and her body is actually choosing healthy ones that she's getting pregnant with? There's all sorts of variables and reasons to think about. We had some clotting factor stuff come back. So was shifted some supplements here. She was on a lot of things. The follow-up recommendation was, like I said, autoimmune and inflammation testing, seeing a reproductive immunologist, getting her genetics to us, her 23andMe, so we could do some genetic, getting on back then the egg quality diet was just about to come out, so we called it the Fertility Purify Eating Plan, but then we put her on the egg quality diet. Constipation, we talked about the liver support soup, and then for supplements, prenatal, fish oil, CoQ10, probiotics, some antioxidants, L-arginine. These are some of the things she was on. So a lot of times when girls come to us, we meet them where they're at, where I'm like, I'm not going to have you throw out your vitamins because I respect you and your money, but we'll streamline it. So she was on a decent antioxidant formula. Okay, great. When you run out, we're going to switch. She was on L-arginine. It's not something we put our girls on regularly, mainly because we get most of those amino acids from foods, especially if we're doing the broth and the nutrient-dense meats. She was on a B complex, fine. She was on royal jelly, fine. She was on this constipation cleanse, no bueno. Magnesium, a sleep formula, melatonin, 3 milligrams of melatonin. So we asked her to decrease that, as that's a pretty high dose. We added in liver, we added in collagen peptides, we added in vitamin D, we added in spirulina. And so she had high ferritin on some of the blood work. Let's see. She came back positive ANA. I mean, why? This is the stuff that, like, I won't bore you with my anger, but, like, why the fuck did no one test her for a fucking ANA after 3 miscarriages? Why the fuck is what I have to say to that. Drives me in fucking sane. That's that. Because that is alone could be the reason for some of these losses. Her ferritin was high. That's another sign of inflammation. So we have to think about that. What does that mean? She had a positive ANA. Did I say that? Yeah. And so, APA. I think I saw APA as well. So continuing, we're fine-tuning supplements. And, she's talking with Sarah about the losses. Should she do PRP, which is the ovarian platelet-rich plasma injected into the ovaries to help kind of juice things up? Back and forth, decide to do it. She also does go ahead and gets the, let me just see, sorry. Should move jobs, things were going on, still having the hair loss. High ferritin is a sign of inflammation. He's still, not fully committed on the diet, but then she is. So 3rd of 5 coaching sessions, working with Sarah. Sarah runs through all her genetics with her, which I think was beautiful. We fine-tuned supplements a little bit more. Based on some of the genetics, we added in more choline in the form of sunflower lecithin. I'm assuming because she came back with MTHFR. We added in more methylated folate. We added in broccoli sprouts and glutathione for antioxidant powerhouse. And so what happens next is she finds out she's pregnant. August 30th, 2021. Naturally pregnant. Can you share more details about what you know so far? And so she says, let's see, here's all the information. Today's exactly 4 weeks. My first HCG today. The doctor did not want to test my progesterone, even though we asked her to, with her history of losses. I'll keep you posted. I feel fine physically. I have moments of anxiety. I feel like I have PTSD from my previous losses. Here's the supplements I'm taking. What should I change? Regarding the diet, is there anything I should do beyond what I'm doing? Do you think I should be taking the baby aspirin? Is there anything I can take for inflammation? So, or progesterone inserts. So she's now already pregnant, and in my opinion, we should have started the baby aspirin immediately. I think knowing what we know, let's see, I would choose progesterone over TSH for right now. I would recommend, so Sarah writes right back, please take the low dose aspirin 1 per day. It's a mild blood thinner, because considering her history of her loss. And then we ask her again to either get progesterone checked or start taking the progesterone supplements. You continue eating well, sleeping well, try to manage the stress. Those are the most important things you can do. And then Sarah gives her, we always pivot and support when our patients find out they're pregnant. And, these are the supplements to take. These are the ones to stop. Her first HCG was beautiful. Her TSH looked good. And then the beta didn't double in 48 hours, but the rise was falling within normal range. And her progesterone actually did get tested and it looked good. And third test done, the beta went up again, which was great. So let's just get to it. And then, so 43 pregnant, 5 weeks, 5 days, 6 weeks, 3 days. And then, there was no heartbeat, but it was early at 6 weeks. And then she miscarried, which is devastating. And she says, I feel defeated, angry at myself, waiting for so long for allowing myself to actually think that it could be different this time. So absolutely devastating. And I know a lot of you guys can relate. And so then this now becomes her 4th loss. And so she'd been with us at that point now, May, June, July, and she got pregnant. So 3 months, but she'd been getting pregnant. So, in my head, I don't think it was enough time to do all of the workup. And so, it's devastating no matter what. And it's nobody's fault. She did nothing wrong. Of course, we come in and support her. She wants to know, should she get a DNC or should she miscarry? Do you think I should get a hysteroscopy? Finally, I have a renewed determination to improve my egg quality and have a healthy baby. Is eating enough protein, fats, veggies more important than removing gluten, dairy, or soy? Or are they equal? And I said, I think removing gluten, dairy, and soy are more important. And then we broke down the benefits of the DNC, where we could get tissue analysis, things of that nature. And so she then thought about doing another IVF because, okay, maybe this is the route I need to go. Of course, her doctors all told her it was her egg quality. And we got her on some herbs to help with bleeding, or her acupuncturist did, I apologize. Her supplements, so we're just kind of going back to the same thing. So then she's now deciding, okay, miscarriage, healing emotionally, devastating, more committed to the protocol. I'm very committed now to this diet. I'm going to do PRP. We're have her doing castor oil packs. And let's see. Her IVF doctor says she only needs a saline sonogram. We push her to request the hysteroscopy. And so I had a pelvic MRI, found out I have endometriosis. So we push these things. I have endo and adeno. I feel so down and I'm just in shock. And so this is where and I have a feeling she's watching right now too. So this is where for me it's crushing, because I'm like, how did this woman now just go through 4 losses, and she's had 2 IVFs, 3 IUIs, and now we're just getting this diagnosis? Now we're just looking? Now? Really? And she comes to us with the questions. I feel so down and just shocked. Is this the reason I've had 4 miscarriages? Do I need surgery? Is there anything else I should do? How bad are my results? So, it's just so many things. So we really push back on the diet. We're like, you can do Lupron to address the adenomyosis. There is surgery, so that's kind of what my team is great at. And we just come in. We've seen these cases hundreds of times at this point, unfortunately. So really, Sarah's an amazing being to just hold her and support her and guide her. We recommend her to go see Dr. Andrea Vidali, who's like our number one favorite endometriosis doc. He's the head of Pregmune, but he's also an endometriosis surgeon and just an all around awesome human and a brilliant fucking doctor. And so, she is going to do another IVF. She's taking in all the information, like what to do next. Should I do surgery? Should I not? And so where she is now, this is January 2022, recently diagnosed with the endo and adeno. She has a couple inflammatory markers. And she's going to go in and do a dual stim IVF. She will do L.Ac, MAC, and the 450 Gonal-F, Monopure, HGH, dual trigger. If the cycle isn't successful, would do a dual stim with 2 retrievals. Ari is a single practitioner. Okay, so... And this month, so January is when she really, this is it, I'm doing it. She went strictly gluten-free, dairy-free, low sugar, no nightshades, no soy. Immediately feels better within a few days. Less foggy, more energies, pooping every day. Pooping every day. Her supplements were on all the things. Has another session with Sarah. They're just fine-tuning things. She gets COVID. Fucking awesome. Her thyroid gets tested. It's a little off. I have like lots of chart notes in here, obviously. Just found out 4 embryos all stopped growing. 2 to 4 cells. So this is February. So now she's been a month into the diet. And all the things, like really, committed. But she gets COVID. All embryos stop growing. 2 to 4 cells on day 3 today. I feel so sad. Based on my labs below, what should I be doing next? And now I'm thinking about mini IVF. Okay, so she didn't do PRP yet. This is it, right? So then but she had COVID, so we think COVID could have impacted things. Maybe, just being sick in general. And so... Here we go. So this most recent retrieval, they got 6, 4 mature, 4 fertilized, all stopped growing on day 3. Wants to take February off, wants to do IUI with low stim. She now has surgery scheduled with Dr. Vidali at the end of April, has adenomyosis, endometriosis, and let's see. She then came to New York. She gets to see Sarah for acupuncture. If you are listening, God, you've been through so much. She does a follow-up with another doctor, Dr. Sammy David. He recommends Mucinex. We talk through the diet a little bit more. She has surgery at the end of April. She's still continuing on the diet. Struggles with eating enough protein, enough veggies. She switched to organic wine when she is doing it, which is what I recommended. And I think it's a great switch and a good choice to, again, meeting our clients where they're at. And again, that perfection doesn't equal pregnancy or healthy egg quality in this case, right? So then she's starting to consider, should I do donor eggs? And I remember Sarah bringing it up to me, and I was like, no, this is not a case. I mean, I'm all for it. I support you guys, whatever you want to do and whatever feels good. But I'm not convinced that her egg quality is bad. I'm not convinced that we can't do this with her own eggs. And so, sure, start the process if you want. Line it up. If that takes some stress off of you, look into that. Absolutely. But in this case, I'm not convinced that donor eggs is going to prevent a miscarriage because there's something else going on, right? So when we break down for her, and this I think is really good for you guys, here are my top 3 to-dos for the egg quality diet. Choose clean animal proteins, eat enough animal protein, and eat enough veggies. And my top 3 don'ts for the egg quality diet, which I love this. This is actually a great post. I might send this to my team. Avoid any food you are reactive to that makes you feel unwell. Avoid gluten. Eat packaged foods and foods made with alternative flours in moderation / infrequently. Such good advice. I'm actually copying and pasting this because I agree with this. I'm going to compose into an email here because I think this is a good one. Okay. And so she's still doing her acupuncture. She's going to do an IUI, but she's also going to do surgery, and the IUI doesn't work. Okay. She gets her Pregmune results in. So she did Pregmune, and she signs up, and she's doing surgery with Vidali. So now we've collected a lot of data. And at this point, we can start to see of like what we're going to do next. And so she's also, what doctor should I work with next? I think she winds up continuing with her exact same doctor. It was just easier than traveling back to New York. Surgery was a bit intense. She has stage 2 endometriosis. It was not on her ovaries or her tubes. She had a small spot of adenomyosis. He didn't think it should impair anything. So the Pregmune results, they recommended metformin, Plaquenil, she's going to do PRP. I have the results somewhere, but I don't think I'm going to go through them real fast with you guys. But if you guys don't know about the Pregmune report, and if you've had multiple losses, it's something I would really urge looking into. And it gives you a nice report and then medications to treat for any of the inflammatory / autoimmune situations that are actually causing the losses. So she's still thinking about doing PRP. They gave her a protocol that if she does continue to try naturally, to try with these medications. So she had the HLA antibodies, parental compatibility, MTHFR, some other clotting factors. And then she does some fertility trauma coaching. Very depressed with each miscarriage. You guys get all this. So it's a huge toll. Obviously, this is a big case, and I have a lot of data. It was a lot. It was a lot to get to this point. So almost a year into working with us, then she has another loss. She has a crappy IVF cycle, and those are early on in working with us. The loss was like the 3rd month in, and then the IVF cycle was about 5 months in. But then that's where it's like, I'm really committed. I'm going to do this. And, the emotional stuff was tough. So she does the group coaching with us, where she gets the one-on-one sessions with our fertility trauma coach, which I think was really helpful to her. And she does PRP at the end of May in prep for the next IVF cycle. And at this point now, she's been, I would say 80% committed, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, to the egg quality diet at this point. But now it's 80% committed, and we are 5 months in. 5 months, 80% committed. And so we're talking about Pregmune here. We talked about dining out, wine, exercise. Now she's 44, turning 44. She feels like the ship has sailed and she needs to face it. The thought of turning 44 scares her. Anybody else relate? Digestion is not working properly. Daunting to go back to the diet. So she's going back and forth, on and off. But she knows the cycle's coming up, and so she wants to really recommit. She did the PRP. Fine, not even unpleasant. I agree. She continues with the supplements, with transfer. Any future pregnancies, we're doing Lovenox, IVIG, Plaquenil, and I believe a low-dose steroid and metformin. So there was a lot that was to be addressed, that, in my opinion, this is where I just get so fired up. She shouldn't have gone through these 4 losses. This all should have been looked at sooner, and it's no fault of the patients. This was mismanaged, in my opinion. And also, had she not started working with my team of coaches who are, not to put us down, but we're acupuncturists. We're not medical doctors. We have a lot of clinical training, but we're the ones who got her to get this further testing to look into these things. No fertility doctor was pushing her to look into these things, which just spins me out, because they just started looking at her age and said, oh, well, now you're 43. Oh, now you're 44. Oh, this is all egg quality. You just keep miscarrying because it's a bad eggs. Not the case. So anyway, if you remember, the IVF she did shortly after that last loss, so about 3 months after that loss, retrieved 6, 4 mature, 4 fertilized. She was on a pretty decent dose, 225 Follistim, 225 Menopur, HGH. And then they decided, okay, now what we're just going to do is Clomid, Menopur, maybe Gonal-F. She does the PRP. Anyway, I know I'm getting a little confused myself here. Long story short, let me get to it. I get to have some sessions with her. And so same thing, we're preparing for this retrieval. She's really trying to stay gluten and dairy free, getting veggies in her hard. So I talk about the Dr. Cowan's powders, which I actually have in my bone broth, ways to sneak it in. And that's, again, we're meeting our girls where we're at. Okay, you like Greek salad? Okay, let's see to warm it up. Let's add in this green. Let's do this. Add in greens. Because when she adds in the greens, her digestion works so much better. So, So what she got was the dual-stim cycle. Got 5 the first half of the cycle. Oh, that's what it was. 4 mature and fertilized and freeze them on day 2. And then next stim phase, saw this batch test all together. So the first round, she gets 4 mature and fertilized, but they froze them on day 2. Then the next batch, I have to go here now. I actually don't see all my notes. I think they got another 3, and then they sent them off. In my head, we sent off 4, and 2 came back normal. So at this point, what I would say too, because I had written up this case, trying to conceive since 2019, 4 miscarriages, all natural conceptions. Then we get autoimmune workup. We find out about endo. We find out about adeno. We find out about these inflammatory markers. Those are probably the reason for the losses. 3 previous IVFs. And she gets nothing. IVF number 4, she does PRP before the cycle, committed to the egg quality diet, customized supplement regimen for 6 months, plus did group coaching, so mental, emotional work. Meds were lower dose, which I know we had talked with her about, because it seemed to be, that's the other thing to think about too. If you keep doing IVF and you're on high dose meds and you keep getting poor results or poor egg quality, another thing to think about is that the meds could be compromising the quality or making the eggs more fragile. I just had another girl who wound up getting pregnant naturally in between IVFs, where she was told her eggs are fragile. And she unfortunately has miscarried, but it was actually a genetically normal embryo that she miscarried, or baby that she miscarried, and she got pregnant with naturally. And so I said to her, that really changes the game here, because now doctors have been telling you your eggs are all fragile, your eggs are all bad. But what is actually probably happening is you don't do well with these meds, because you just got pregnant naturally with a healthy child in your belly. So that's telling, and you miscarried due to an autoimmune, inflammatory response. This is a different case. But so that tells us something, that the meds aren't working for your body. They're too, could be too high of a dose, and that's compromising the quality. That not that your eggs are bad, it's the environment with which they're growing in that's compromising them. And so in this case here, that's what we did. Like, we urged her to ask more questions, change the medications, do the PRP, get more testing, commit to the diet, all these things. And now 2.5 years later, 3 years she's been in this process, but older, and she gets 2 genetically normal embryos. Previous things weren't even getting to past day 3. And so here we are. And so now the next step, and I will share this complete story of hope, hopefully, maybe in a year from now, when she actually has a baby in her arms from one of these. But now our next hurdle is we're going to do a transfer with these meds and make sure that she doesn't miscarry for other reasons. So now she's got the Pregmune. She's treated the endometriosis. She's on the diet, which also treats the endometriosis. We now were able, she was shocked. Like, I will share with you the email that she sends when she finds out about her let me see. Okay. I have some good news. I'm still shocked as I write this, but after my duostim, I got 2 euploids. I honestly didn't think I would, and I'm just so thankful. I set up my next session with you in September, but in the meantime, I wanted to see if there's any immediate changes. Thank you eternally for all of your help in getting to this point. I just turned 44, and I just can't wrap my head around it. I know. Sending love and hope to this woman. We're all rooting for you. Exactly. So I think there's 2 layers to this case. And I actually question, was her egg quality poor? You know, I think in the natural in utero environment, she was getting pregnant. We don't know the status of any of those losses, whether or not they were genetically abnormal. But what happened, which is really common, is she's told that it's your age and all your eggs are bad, and that's why you keep having miscarriages, and IVF is your only option. She was onto it, though. She had a hunch. She was like, I'm going to try some IUIs. Maybe it's the meds, but, then getting to work with us and us pushing on this autoimmune testing, looking for endometriosis, changing the meds and the cycles, and then obviously supporting her diet, lifestyle wise, and mental emotional help. Like she needed another piece to the team. And now here she is. Of course, this has been a fucking long journey and too many losses, but here she is now with all the resources to go into this transfer, or, I even think to keep these embryos banked, and then, okay, so we could do another retrieval if we want, bank more. We could now try naturally now that we have a protocol and we know you can make normals. And that's all really, honestly, in the emotional space. What does she feel like she has the capacity for moving forward? But, and for all of you to think like it's not only just one thing that comes together and makes this whole case be, successful or a story of hope, but just so many moving parts and getting all the right support. We do work with women all over the world. Someone's just asking, do I do televisits? That's majority of the business, is everything's virtual. So all over the world, not just Florida, anywhere in the world, my team and I work with women. And so, yeah. So anyway, I will keep you posted on part 2 of this story, but I think it's a really great story on so many levels of overcoming loss and slowly but surely making the changes. That's where, like, this case too is like, she didn't dive right into the diet, and it is a challenging diet and lifestyle. I'm not going to lie about that, but slowly and surely she's been making these changes, and we're seeing the impact. So there you have it. And I know this is kind of a long story of hope, so I'm going to hang up, and I love you guys. I will talk to you all later. Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.